Mom. Does he think I'm a farthead?
Welcome to Round 5 of Eat the Buckle, the horror movie battle royale podcast that puts two movies in a weekly head-to-head matchup where the loser will remain in the ring another week, and we will be forced to watch it repeatedly until we have one movie standing in an effort to determine the worst horror movie ever made. This week's matchup is, for a fifth time, 1981's Madman versus the sixth installment of the very franchise that it shamelessly ripped off 5 years prior, 1986's Friday the 13th, Jason Lives. I'm Jared, and with me as always are my intrepid co-hosts, Aaron and Josh. Gentlemen, we have a summer camp slam!
Boy, do we ever.
This is by far the hardest week of finessing Eat the Buckle and trying to program how this was going to go home.
Oh, yeah? How so?
Well, I mean, like to steal the parlance from wrestling.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
not that I lost my brains and could not figure out how to get back home because I had to watch the same shitty movie for 5 weeks. No, it was just the simple fact that very inept movies this week.
You turned into Richie and got lost twice.
I'll tell you one thing, brothers. Both of these combatants are ready to give it their all. It's gonna be a slobber knocker this week.
Oh, I tell you, Big Z, this might be the closest matchup we've had yet. This one's someone's eating the buckle, and it might be one of us.
It was definitely all of us.
I am excited about this one because I probably for the first time I don't know where your guys' heads are at. I mean, it's been pretty clear, I think, in the last previous 4 weeks, but this week I truly don't know. So this is going to be fun. And could Madman be toppled?
Could be. I would like to, off the top, on this week's episode of Eat the Buckle, have a Sandy Duncan update. There was a lot
SDU?
What's that?
SDU?
Yes, we're going to have an SDU. Unbeknownst to three of us, Sandy Duncan is alive as of this recording. I haven't checked this evening as we're recording in late August 2024. But we had so much unscheduled Sandy Duncan talk last time that I was like, let me just see when she passed away. And imagine my surprise when she's still alive. Imagine my surprise when both of her eyes are real.
Oh, no!
What?
Yes.
Where did that folklore come from?
Because she had a tumor behind her one eye.
Oh no.
Good gosh.
That was operated on, who she did go end up marrying the surgeon that did the operation. I think it was her third marriage.
Fourth operation.
Wow. But yes, two real eyes, not a glass eye.
Oh wow! I don't know.
So this is week 5, episode 5 of Eat the Buckle, and we've had our first legalese clearing of sorry, you're still alive.
Yep.
And you have both your eyes, we apologize.
I do apologize, Miss Duncan.
Yes.
That ruins a lot of merch ideas I had in my head.
Yeah, a little retroactive apology. If I could go back and clean that up, I would. But hey, what's done is
that's right.
And good on Sally Duncan Donuts.
I figured it would
Sally Duncan, if you're listening.
Yeah, I'm sure she's a big while she's eating her Triscuits and passing the football to Jason Bateman, I'm sure she's got this on her ear pods.
What else did she was Peter Pan.
She was Peter Pan.
But what was she Peter Pan in?
Peter Pan on Broadway.
It was a Broadway. There was like a movie version that she's just from the Broadway.
Again, I did a cursory glance into her life I didn't study it. Just
what if
that she's alive and has both eyes, and she's been married multiple times.
what if each week going forward we just say some bullshit about Sandy Duncan that we have to go back?
You have to find our Duncan facts.
Yeah.
Just
Our
off,
Duncan download for the week.
Oh, there you go.
off the cuff Duncan talk.
But I didn't want to go off the rails or anything. I just felt like instead of me adding that in, like I wanted to be like, in the course of this podcast, some bad things are said about Sandy Duncan that we unfortunately didn't realize that she was still alive and had both of her eyes. We at Eat the Buckle Productions are extremely upset with ourselves and wish that we had done more research before shooting off from the hip. To
You
Miss
should.
Duncan, we apologize. So I thought tonight we would just do it.
Well, you should record that snippet of what you just said because we'll maybe need it in future weeks.
Yeah, and then we'll just keep apologizing to her whenever we mess up with anything else.
I mean, maybe
Sandy-
why don't we just start a Sandy Duncan podcast?
Yeah. Talking Duncan.
Forget this, because if it's going to be more Badman, I would
Well-
rather transition over to a Sandy Duncan specialty podcast.
Well, friend, the good news is we'll get there. We don't know where it's going, but we did state if Madman loses a fifth time, it will be put in the shit locker to be heralded for all eternity for its ineptitude. No, well, thank you for clearing that up. I think that's very important, legally and socially, just to get that out there that Sally Duncan is still with us, and God
I regret nothing.
Well, now I hope now I hope she is in our Jason Blum Madman remake. Oh, update on that. I did get an email from Jason Blum. It's a pass.
Oh, imagine that.
It's a pass.
Damn it.
But I don't know. Hopefully they'll still remake it someday. But should we clean that up, Inley? Is that any kind of saying that Jason Blum emailed me?
Oh, no, I think there was enough tongue in cheek on that.
For his shitty company. Oh God. Well,
And the believability is enough that, but I think we had enough tongue in cheek that we weren't leading a listener on.
yeah, I hope so. And listeners, if you thought any of that was real, then
Get used to more of it, because we're going to have more probably this week.
um any updates on anything or any more, or should we get into this
Well, I think that was enough. Let's just get into this battle.
Yeah.
summer camp slam or the camp counselor crush? Any other?
I
This
can't think of any alliteration right now.
This could be merch someday. Okay, so this week the new combatant in the ring is Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. This was released August 1st, 1986, on a budget of $3 million. Gentlemen, did it eat the buckle or did it make money? Thoughts?
They all made money until
They all
they
made
didn't.
a shit ton of money.
Yeah, it made money.
This one made 19 million, so it more than six tupled its budget. This was released the same day in theaters as a heralded classic, Howard the Duck.
Oh man. And what a bad time for cinema.
It came out with a 37 million. Howard the Duck in 1986 cost $37 million. That's like, I don't know what the rate of inflation is, but I would assume that's got to be close to like 100,000 these days. Like what a Marvel movie would cost today.
Well,
I
it
mean,
was a Marvel movie.
yeah, it was a Marvel movie, but like what a today Marvel movie would cost. It made 37.2 million, so which is weird. Like, not that this is a Howard the Duck. It could be Howard the Duncan.
All right, no, that premise
Okay. But like I always thought,
stretched.
just as we thought Sally Duncan only had one eye. I always thought that Howard the Duck was like a
Sandy,
Sally, Sandy.
Sandy.
Yeah, her. I always thought that
Andre Duncan.
I always thought that Howard the Duck was like a all-time failure. It made its money back at the very least. Like I always thought it was just held as this
No, the thing is,
dismal failure.
everybody was excited to see it, and it was a piece of shit, and
But
everybody
they
hated
saw
it
it.
after they
Yeah.
saw it.
It probably made all its money on like the opening weekend, and then people were like, "No, don't go see that." And then it didn't
Yeah.
make another penny. Anyway, so written, directed by Tom Coughlin, starring Tom Matthews, Jennifer Cook, David Kagan, Carrie Noonan, Renee Jones, and Tom Fidley. This
A star-studded cast.
star-studded cast. So, in the brief history of the Friday the 13th series, this is Jason has actually been killed in part 4. He was famously dead in part 5, which is known as the fake Jason movie. So this was like touted as like Jason is back. We have him back. Like this is going to be huge. So in order to stop his hallucinations, Tommy Jarvis, who was played by Corey Feldman in part 4, who actually did kill Jason in part 4. Now he's grown up and played by this other tallywhacker. He's having hallucinations, and he feels like if he can dig up the body of Jason, who has now been dead for years, if he can dig up his corpse and see it, that he will, it'll help his hallucinations, and he can come to terms with it. While he successfully digs it up, he starts to have PTSD and freaks out, and he grabs a spear from a wrought iron, like a portion of a wrought iron fence that had been torn up or whatever, and he stabs it through the body of Jason. Just as lightning strikes the iron rod and reanimates Jason, and then we're off to the races, baby. Jason comes back to life, and it's all hell breaks loose. There we are. Again, I know what I think of this movie. In full transparency, I love Friday the 13th. It's my other than Evil Dead, it's my favorite horror movie franchise. So I don't know where you guys are with this, so I'm just gonna let you guys take it, and I'll just let it wash over me, and I'll interject when I need to. So what were your thoughts on this Summer Camp Slam first installment?
All right. So let me, I guess, as quickly as I can to give you a little bit of, I got to come clean on something. As big as a horror movie fan as I am, until recently, I had never seen the whole Friday the 13th film series. I've
Same.
growing up, I think I saw like 2 and maybe bits and pieces of some of the other ones. So it wasn't until like Freddy versus Jason that I actually watched a full, as a teenager or whatever, a full Friday the 13th movie. And then it wasn't until the Blu-ray 4K box set came out of the whole thing that I actually bought it and watched them all through. So even then, by the time I got past part 4 or 5, when I was kind of going through those movies in the box set, I was losing a lot of interest. And so I was texting, I was playing my Switch while I was watching, and I was barely paying attention. So this is the first time I sat down and watched Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. And boy,
And it blew you away.
I was disappointed.
Wow.
Like,
Okay.
I knew that the franchise got bad, but this one was just beyond anything I could have even. It was like trauma level bad for me.
That's
I
I
did.
was the same
Go
way,
ahead.
man. Because like, the three of us growing up were always over at your house with our friends doing sleepovers, and we were always up till like 4 or 5 watching horror movies like every weekend. So I assumed that we had seen all of the nightmares, all the Freddy's, all the Halloweens growing up, but I don't remember them. I do remember a lot of Doll Man and Puppet Master.
uh-huh.
But for some reason, these movies I don't remember, and I'll watch them and be like, I know I've seen this. And then, but for whatever reason, I'm the same as Josh. I have this huge blind spot with Friday the 13th. And I actually did more. I had to go and do more of my assignment this week. Like I went back and watched 5 because earlier this summer or last year, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna watch them because they were on Max or Paramount Plus. So I was like, all right, I've seen the first one, I've seen the second one, started in with the third one, made it 20 minutes with the 3D stuff, and I was like, nah, not doing it. This is just too terrible because it was just basically a make-out movie with 3D glasses, and I was like, not doing it. I watched 4 this year and was like, I actually like this one. This one is good. I bet they follow up with another vehicle for Feldman. No, because I jumped to 6 for this podcast to present day. And then I was like, what the hell happened in 5? Because they had it kind of like figured out for 4 that I was just like, all right. And then they come out to find out there's been 3 Tommies and they threw away half of 5. And we're just like, oh, no, don't worry about that, folks. This is a sequel to 4. And I was like, oh, well, Rob Zombie wasn't even involved. It was just like, just wipe this away. That never happened.
Yeah, I mean, five gets a really bad rep because, as I said, not to spoil anything, but like Jason isn't the killer; it's someone dressing up as Jason, and that I think killed the franchise. People were so pissed about that. So I think this movie came back in a way that it was like, let's bring it back, but a
comedy.
Yeah, but exactly, and they're like, but let's switch it up. Like, there's, Jason was, other than probably Halloween, like the original slasher, and since this, you had other bastardized versions of Madman and The Burning and all these movies. So I feel like this one was like, if we're going to bring it back, people are already so pissed off at us. Let's fucking take the piss out of it, as the Brits say. Let's bring a different tone into it. Let's switch it up. And for my money, I think they did it perfectly. But I'll continue to let you guys go on.
First of all, I'd like to correct Aaron. It's not a comedy because there isn't an ounce of humor in the movie. It's not even unintentionally funny like bad horror movies can be. It's horrible. It's awful. Let's just get into it. So after the opening scene, which is one of the most terribly acted opening scenes
with
Rorschach.
Rorschach
has the worst ADR in the history of ADR, where they're like, where Tommy's standing in the grave is like, hand me that hammer or something like that, and then Rorschach's like, without his lips even moving, he goes, I got it. It's like the worst thing I've ever seen.
I feel like there was a lot of bad ADR in this.
A lot of bad ADR.
Yeah.
But then so after the intro, you do get kind of that cool, and everybody talks about this when they talk about this movie, but the James Bond intro, which is pretty cool, where Jason walks out and throws his machete at the screen.
I had the exact opposite reaction to that.
I thought it was funny.
I didn't know what I was signing up for because, again, like saw it as a kid and didn't. I go into these not reading up on it, so like I went in completely cold, and I was like, all right, that was a decent opening, and then the James Bond thing happened, and I went, fuck you. Like I actually verbally cussed my TV.
And that was them saying, like, this is what you're in for, guys.
Right. Yeah.
But it doesn't deliver that height of like, okay, that was kind of clever the whole way through. It immediately goes to Tommy running into the sheriff's station to report that Jason's risen from the grave. And the sheriff goes like 0 to 1,000 in aggressive behavior in like 2 seconds. He stands up, draws his gun, is immediately like, what the fuck are you doing, you chicken shit? I'm going to paint your brains all over the wall. And then, like, just from then on, it's like.
Are you talking about the guy that looked like my dad in the early 80s?
Yes. Yeah.
Or the other guy with the tennis ball tube and an LED and a decent battery as his
No,
laser
no,
sight.
this is before we even see him. This is just straight up your dad.
Okay.
Just being totally fucking aggressive for no reason.
I
And
think,
then he immediately throws Tommy in jail.
yeah, after I believe they threatened him 8 times.
Yes.
Threatened to shoot him or kill him or some sort of violence.
And that theme continues throughout the movie. All Tommy does in this movie to that sheriff is run into the station and say, "Hey, a dead man rose from the grave." If this guy wants to murder him, he says it in every scene.
If I may, as a defender of this movie, I think that was because by this time there were so many think of Killer Clown. There were so many horror movies, and I think Killer Clowns probably did this too, where that had become a trope by this point, where like no one believes the person who's like, "Hey guys, this fucked up stuff is happening over here," and then the immediate reaction is, "I'm going to paint my office with your brains." Like,
I don't think anybody involved with this movie was smart enough to think of that, but if they were, they didn't execute it well enough to get it across. It just came across as, well, this is what they do in every other horror movie, so this is what we're going to do in this one. I made a note about halfway through watching this. I don't think anybody involved with the making this movie likes Friday the 13th movies or horror in general, because they get everything wrong from beginning to end.
okay,
It's awful.
all right.
Yeah, I think the second big strike for me after the Jason thing, and we're gonna get to the paintball scene, I'm sure, here in a sec. But the Martin the caretaker breaking the fourth wall,
Yes,
like
that's
it's an
what I'm saying.
airplane movie.
Wait,
Yes.
you mean Dippy?
You mean
Would be
Dick Miller?
Dippy.
You mean Friday the 13th Dippy?
Yeah.
Dippy Dick Miller?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
wrote
could
that
have
down
been.
too. I was like,
Why
this should
wasn't
have
it
been
Dick
Dick
Miller?
Miller.
Should have been Dick Miller. He was probably doing The Howling, or I don't know, or The Burbs or some shit in 1986. But
He probably read the script and was like, "You got to be kidding me."
but that's what you just brought up, Aaron, the literally turning the screen and saying, "Resurrect Jason? Who thinks that's a good idea?" Like,
Yeah.
they knew what they were making in this movie. Like, they wanted to do they wanted to do Evil Dead 2, basically. Like, and
But they didn't do it well, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
it's arguable, but
I-
I take your point.
And okay, another thing I hated about this movie, which I guess it was just kind of a thing at the time, and maybe it wasn't the only Friday the 13th that did that, but like every character in this movie is awful towards one another. Like there's no good, healthy relationships. Even the couples, like the couple that gets killed first, that are driving in that car together, all they do is just like talk shit back and forth and like nag at each other, and then that just carries on. There isn't like one good relationship.
Are
Even
you talking
Tommy
about
and
the RV scene?
no, well before that, at the very beginning. The Velcro wallet lady that gets like killed in the ditch.
Yeah.
With her American Express product placement at the end of her death.
Yeah.
That was a comment on capitalism. The man that got killed in that scene was I can't find his name in my notes, but he's the guy that hosted the Democratic National Convention.
That's awesome.
What was something Goldman, or he was the bad
Tony Goldwyn.
Tony Goldwyn, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, what the
That's hilarious.
I was watching the DNC and I was like, this is that's the bad guy from Ghost, because it's the only thing I know him. Anyway, sorry.
Wow, what a career.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the other thing which needs brought up, because I thought we were already to the RV scene, was, and again, we're talking about tropes. You're at part 6. It's got to be tropey at this point. They did decide not to do any TNA, because that was like, oh, well, as soon as you take your top off and screw, you're going to be dead because Jason's coming for you. I was watching this terrible, unfunny movie, and I was like, well, at least there'll be some gratuitous 80s nudity, and there was none. And I was like, again, going back to our TV movie tropes, like, why? Because again, that's one of those things people are actually looking for at 2 a.m. on Cinemax to pause and enjoy the movie.
Can I jump in with a little objection? That RV scene, I was watching it with Erica, my wife, for the listener. We were both laughing out loud in that scene where the dude's driving and his girlfriend's like standing up, but he's doing like a pinpoint turn, like Austin Powers style. She just keeps like flying back and forward and like knocking shit over. And
before that, the most funny thing in the movie is them having sex, because it looks like two aliens or
my god, that was
or like, you know, bizarre. That thing where like the Mormons don't have sex, so someone bounces the mattress. I don't remember what that's called, but it's like having a wingman make the action happen. So you're just laying there, and that's what it looked like. It looked like two aliens came down who were trying to simulate a sexual encounter between two people. The RV scene does have the best kill, though.
It does, absolutely has.
Where that face gets pressed through the linoleum and the Formica. Yep. Like that, I went, okay, that was cool. Then I watched the rest of the movie.
That whole, again, like I thought the jostling back and forth was hilarious. I thought like that kill with both of them had really good, the guy and the girl, like that whole 7-minute sequence I thought was actually, as the franchise goes, that's top notch.
Yeah.
But I think we have scooted past.
We scooted past a lot. We
need to talk about the paintball scene.
Oh, fucking hell.
The smiley face.
You're telling me you didn't see a man after saying these goddamn broads, like screaming about broads, and then gets his head smashed into a tree trunk, and there's literally like the yellow smiley face, like the have a nice day smiley face. You're telling me you saw that and you're like, I guess this isn't funny.
No, it wasn't funny.
That's straight out of Naked Gun. That's fucking hilarious.
No, because it was poorly done.
How?
Oh,
it was terrible.
I'm not gonna.
That was a very comedic scene. That happens before the RV scene?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I parts of that, like the fact that again, it's a little cutting edge before 9 to 5 comes out. Or actually no, 9 to 5 have already been out. So yeah.
Okay, well maybe what
with the progressive feminism, that was nice. But then yeah, like you're just like, who are you? And you're only here to up the body count.
Yes, exactly. Maybe that scene for me was ruined by the doofus that looked like Ted Raimi, just like ballerina parading around in the woods, like for long stretches of time.
Yeah, there was some Rick Moranis stolen valor in that scene.
And it was, again, I'm going to say this so many times, but it was poorly done. It wasn't fun. Like that, they filmed that and they're like, that's the perfect take. That's the one.
I think it was more like, good, we got it. Let's go to the next.
Yeah, it's terrible.
The other thing you can say at the beginning of this movie is that these counselors are actually more incompetent than the Madman counselors, because they are shown getting out of their Jeep Comanche with all the food supplies, and then 3 minutes, not even 3 minutes, 30 seconds later, the bus pulls up with the kids.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, wait, it's a camp for just the weekend. Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Where you just drop 30 kids off for 2 days and then pick them back up, or a day and a half.
And of course, you know, they all volunteer to be camp counselors, but the second they see their kids, the ugliness comes out. Oh God, here come the kids. The teacher's like, have fun with them or whatever. It's so bad. It's so stupid.
If we actually watch this another week, I want you to tell me, does Court sit on anything but countertops?
No, I think it's just
Yes,
countertops.
he has to drive. Yes, he has to
I
drive.
think he even gets fucked on top of a countertop.
I mean, it's an RV. How comfortable can it be? But he can't. He doesn't sit down. He's always on the counters everywhere he goes.
That'll be the new Madman hand shot. That's how
Oh,
many Court
so
sit
after the RV scene, we get the chase scene in the graveyard, which again is just unnecessary and a waste of film.
on.
With Tommy's like spinning around, like ducking behind a slatted fence,
Uh-huh.
with the police officer right behind him, and then when he gets caught, that's where you get the classic line: "Wherever the red dot goes, you bang."
Yeah,
Which I don't even know what that means.
Neither did he. That was him improvising.
And then after that, they tell the caretaker to dig up Jason, and his response is, "Dig him up? Does he think I'm a fuckhead?"
a fart head. Yeah.
Which, to go to the what I think is the humor of this movie, after he says, "What do they think I am, a fart head?" It instantly cuts to a group of kids screaming, "Yeah!"
No, that was
Again,
not.
made me laugh a lot.
Uh, Megan is the lead blonde in this,
Megan,
correct?
yes, Megan is the heroine of
Megan and her sheriff dad are like only 8 years apart.
this.
Yeah,
Like
he
you
had her
can't
young.
tell me that's a teenager because she looks 80s
And
25
she would
Yeah.
have
to
been
27.
she would have been conceived in the free love 60s, man.
Did anybody else notice in the scene where the little girl goes into Paula's bunk to wake her up because the girl saw Jason? Paula's sleeping with her shoes on.
Yeah, I did. I
That
noticed that.
was that made me cringe.
Um,
That was probably one of the scariest things in the movie.
I thought honestly one of the coolest things I've seen in a long time in a horror movie is the girl with the shoes, her death. It's like very quick at first. Like she looks out the window, Jason comes up behind her, grabs her, and then you just see blood splatter on the window, and then she gets pulled away. And then like 3 seconds later, he throws her through the window. She
Yeah.
gets caught on the glass. He pulls her back in, and then it cuts. And then like 10 minutes later, the sheriff goes into that bunk, and there's fucking blood everywhere.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
makes you think like, what did he do to that
yeah,
poor
that was pretty
like,
okay. I'll give you that.
like
That was
blood
pretty
bat,
cool.
like floor to ceiling blood everywhere. Like after pulling her
Yeah.
back in their window, like I'm going to mess this girl up. Like that, I thought that was so cool. It actually gave me chills when I saw it. I was like, Jesus, she got a rough ending.
So somewhere in there, I'd also made the note. And this one again, maybe it was for humor purposes, but I think it's just a testament to how little they cared about the dialogue. The sheriff has Tommy, and he says, "You stay put until the authorities get here." He's the fucking sheriff.
Yeah. What other authorities
Who's
are coming?
coming?
Do
There
you
was
realize that this movie was the beginning of the Alice Cooper
Mm.
Frankenstein trilogy?
I wasn't even going to talk about the soundtrack yet.
You mean Teenage Frankenstein that played when Court was driving the RV back and forth, back and forth?
I was
Then
gonna say,
then followed up by Feed My Frankenstein with Wayne's World. And we just had the third one last year, which was
oh,
White
didn't know.
Line Frankenstein.
I did
Oh,
not know
boy.
the trilogy was complete.
Yep. Alice Cooper
Wow.
was out on the golf course and said, you know what? White Line Frankenstein.
The fifth
Sure.
one owned for sure now.
And
And
he's all done.
Now, okay, so the next note I have, the only part that I laughed at enough to the point where I rewound it, and I genuinely laughed, and I don't know if they meant it to be funny, but it was fucking hilarious. The sheriff's in the bunk with all the kids, and he tells them to hide under the bed, and then it just goes for like 20 seconds of these quick cuts and these
Yes.
fucking kids just diving.
They grab that hamster as hard as they can, and the next thing you see is ass parallel to floor, flying underneath those beds.
I lost it when
I
I
did
saw
too.
that.
I rewound it. Definitely.
I
That
truly
was
think
that
you
was
could,
a legit funny scene.
I think you could approach watching this with a different mindset of just being like, this is a comedy. Like if you, I think that was
Had
made.
I
No, but
known.
I
Yeah.
understood that it was a comedy. I just didn't find it funny.
No. My point is like you just said like I don't know if they did this for laughs or not. I think the answer to that in this particular movie is yes, they did most everything for laughs in this. Even like
Ugh.
the face through the fucking wall is like
Yeah.
a funny kill and a very effective kill. Um I loved the girl I think her name was Sissy
Yeah. With the suspenders
with
and
the
the
suspenders on her sweatpants.
was that ever a thing? I mean, again, I feel like if that was a thing, Ty West would have had it featured in one of his movies,
Fucking dare. I will
but I saw that and made a note and I was like, I don't remember ever seeing sweats and
Well,
suspenders.
I will say, keeping on the suspenders theme, the big reveal at the end of the movie when she hauls Tommy out of the water after the big showdown with Jason and he's laying on the beach and his jacket's kind of open. He's the kind of little punk that wears suspenders.
Yeah.
And that explains everything about his terrible character.
He
I'm gonna
probably stole him from Return of the Living Dead.
Can we talk about Tommy for a second and just how awful of an actor that dude was? Like, no, there
Oh,
was no panic.
he was
There was nothing.
better than the first Tommy.
He was
He
Well,
was
second Tommy, I should say.
second time. He was better than second. Well, he's sitting in the jail cell and he's just like, you have to let me out. Jason's on the loose. He's going to kill again. It's
Yeah.
just like, was he the only one that showed up to that casting call? How
Yeah.
did he get that role?
I didn't think he was terrible. He was fine. He was passable. I mean, you're in the sixth installment of this movie. There's been way worse than him.
Yeah,
He wears
I
suspenders.
think the biggest thing you can take from this is it's the sixth one. What do you expect?
Right.
Mm.
And that goes kind of to my point is like they were just doing something at the very least they were doing something different with the franchise. To be like maybe it didn't stick for you. Maybe that whatever they were trying to do didn't vibe with you, but like at least they were doing something different. It's kind of like when Freddy turns into like surfer dude and he's coming in on a skateboard wearing sunglasses. Like,
Oh, don't spoil the later ones for me.
like at some point you got to switch up the franchise. And I don't know. I love Cool Freddy, but I'll take Cool Jason too.
But he wasn't cool, Jason. This was a lame Jason.
Oh, I don't think so.
Why was he wearing yellow gloves?
Because they didn't have the budget to do special effect hands.
No hand makeup artist.
They didn't have the Madman. They should have borrowed Madman hands.
They should have.
They were probably in the Smithsonian at that point. So should we take a quick break?
Let's take a break before we get into our final conclusion on this, or Josh's 6 other pages of notes.
I'm almost done.
We'll let Josh flush this turd, and then we'll move on. All right, we'll be back.
Great moon today. Are you feeling bored?
All right, Big Z. Any
Oh
other?
man. All right. So I don't know. In that quick break, I decided I don't know how much longer I need to beat this drum. Because I really don't. I don't want to become that podcast co-host that's negative and just drills and drills and drills on something. We've heard enough of that at other podcasts.
I think we've all had our week for that. Mine was Event Horizon. Aaron,
Yeah.
Exactly.
go for it, man. Fucking let it out. Exercise.
I'll just wrap up my thoughts on. So, okay. So when we started talking about this, we were talking about how everybody hated Part 5 because it was a stray from the formula.
No,
It wasn't even Jason. So you said they came back with this when they just took the piss out of everybody. It made a comedy. And I can't think of what a more disservice you could do to fans of a franchise that's 6 movies in than just being like, oh, okay, you guys want a good movie? Here's a piece of shit comedy that's barely funny. This movie sucks. It's not a good comedy. It's not a good horror movie. it's just a waste of time. I can't remember the last time I had this least amount of fun watching a slasher movie.
Madman for
We'll
5 weeks.
if I may, I actually think like if you Googled like Jason Friday the 13th movies ranked, like this one's usually top 2 or 3. People love this movie.
That's what I was amazed. I saw that earlier today.
It's my third favorite of the franchise.
Because again,
Ooh,
I think
that's a bad
4
franchise.
well, yeah, they kind of are.
Once you have 12 movies, you're gonna have a bottom of the barrel at some point.
I honestly think which one is the space one? 10?
Yeah, Jason X, yeah.
All right. I haven't seen that for at least a year and a half. Like I remember watching it for a Halloween either last year or the year before and just laughing because again, it's the 10th one. You know, going in, it's going to be terrible. I thought there was at least a couple of hidden gems leading up to that there would be, and obviously, like I said earlier, I think 4 is one. Two is a good one. Like here's what it is.
Yep. 4. This. Sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought.
But just to again going in cold and not knowing that they were like, all right, we're gonna make Citizens on Patrol Friday the 13th. I didn't realize that going in, and as soon as I saw, like I said earlier, as soon as the slapstick started happening, I was just like, oh no, this is going to be a long 90 minutes.
Imagine being in a theater, 1986. You're taking your best girl or your best guy, or you're out with your buds going to see Friday the 13th on August 1st, and you're fucking pumped. You go and you see this. It was not at all what you were expecting. You see a smiley face smashed into a tree trunk. You see Horshack getting his heart punched through his stomach.
Imagine, if you will, being a teenager in the movie theaters, going to the movies this opening weekend, and you have to choose what to spend your money on, Howard the Duck or this. And you choose Howard the Duck. And then you come out of that movie thinking, what a piece of shit that was. So you go home and you beg, borrow, and plead to get more money to go see Jason on Saturday night. And you walk out of that theater. What a miserable weekend for film releases.
Oh,
you're like that girl in her bunk falling asleep reading
Sark.
yeah.
Yep, hell is people. Hell is other people.
Yep. I think my last note on a positive, well, all mine have been positive. I do love this movie. I liked that this, maybe more than any other slasher, summer camp slasher, like involved the kids. Like there was actually like some amount of danger with children, probably other than Sleepaway Camp, but that's a whole other podcast. But like definitely other Friday the 13th and certainly a Madman. Like this, like had some sort of dread with like, it was a summer camp with actual kids, you know. And I think I don't even think there's a Friday the 13th movie that actually shows the kids and not, you know, just focuses on the counselor. But anyway, that was my last note.
Those kids running commentary like was it Rosencrantz and Goldenstein? Like that was hilarious.
Did meet.
Well, I guess we're
loved
done
it.
for.
One kid's like, so what did you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah, that was hilarious. Oh, come on. That was
Biggsy, come on, man.
I was so over the fucking movie by that
that's
point.
Like a Wet Hot American Summer line. Like
it definitely was. Yeah.
That was good. That's like, again, if you just
the Netflix version
into the expecting what it is, I don't know if, well, maybe you would be so down on it. I don't know. But
again, I don't get into trauma humor, and that's what this was. It's just bad.
To your point, though, Josh, I feel like this is as big of a disconnect. Like if you had been, you know, discovered Evil Dead at the drive-in, Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, and then you went to be like, I'm going to go see Army of Darkness in a mainstream theater, like not the second run, not the 50 cent, you know, secondary. And then you were like, what is this?
Even the jump from Evil Dead 1 to Evil Dead 2 is like, I bet people are like, what the fuck? This is a three.
Yeah, the difference you guys keep skipping over is those movies are well made.
Yeah, not everyone's
This
range.
isn't well made.
I disagree. I mean, it's not, it's well made for a Friday the 13th movie. It's, in my opinion, certainly more well made than some other movies we're going to talk about.
All right. So here's where I stand. We'll go ahead and cap this off here.
Mhm.
I say you asked me to be part of this podcast to find the worst horror movie. And this isn't a horror movie. This is a comedy.
Oh, it's a comedy horror movie.
I think it's disqualified because there's what horror?
No.
What horror is in there?
What? It's Jason
It's Jason
killing people.
It's as much of a horror movie as Jaws 4, which I watched this week as also. and 3 is terrible.
Would you qualify Evil Dead 2 for this podcast?
No.
Or Slither? Or oh, come on. We can't get
Look, the only reason I'm going to say that argument doesn't stand is because we also watched Cemetery Man, which is definitely a fucked up comedy and not a horror movie.
Well,
if
that's
you're going
true.
by those rules.
Okay.
Or Planet Terror is jokey.
Yes, it's definitely jokey.
Actually, probably watched more horror comedy than we haven't at this point.
That's true. Actually,
your point is valid, but I don't think we can get semantical about it. Semantical? Is that a word?
Sounds good enough for a free podcast. I will say again, then by the guidelines, this is still a better movie than Madman.
Wait, were we getting there already?
Hold on.
Hold your horses.
Oh, wait. Sorry.
That's okay. Hey, you're the editor. You can edit.
Spoiler alert.
Yep. Cut that out.
Let's see. What minute mark are we at here?
10:28. Okay.
No, it's fine. No one gives a shit. Do we want to put a bow on that, baby? Or
let's get into Madman.
Let's do the Madman corner.
I don't need to spend any more time talking about Friday the 13th Part 6 Jason Lives.
Well, then before we talk about Madman for a fifth time, you guys want to play a game?
Oh, sure.
This game's called Eat the Buckle. What I'm going to do is give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds of a wrestling battle royale matchup, each with its category of grouped metadata characters pulled from the films that we've watched. You're going to tell me who you think would win, be the last man standing in that particular battle royale. I have already picked my winners. If yours matches the one I picked, you get a point.
So, okay. So we're talking a real wrestling match, a physical altercation.
You can base it on whoever's strongest, whoever's smartest, whoever's cleverest, whoever is lucky.
Like they're not trying to get away from Madman Mars or Jason.
They're just wrestling each other.
All right.
First category is heroines. Here's the combatants in the ring. We've got Betsy from Madman. We've got Peters from Event Horizon. We've got Cherry from Planet Terror. Cherry is why can't I think of her name?
Rose McGowan.
We've got Samantha from House of the Dead, and we've got Megan from Friday the 13th, Part 6.
Cherry.
That's who I picked. You each get a point.
That's not even a contest.
Next up is Heroes. We've got Miller from Event Horizon. We've got
Captain Miller.
All right, Captain Miller from Event Horizon. We've got Cemetery Man from Cemetery Man. We've got El Rey from Planet Terror. We've got Tommy Jarvis from Friday the 13th. And we've got Max from Madman.
Okay. Max is a hero?
I mean, I had to pull somebody from.
Okay. Well, I'd like to start this before I say who I think would win, to say that I think that all the other 4 combatants would just stomp Tommy Jarvis into a mud hole. They would team up to stomp him and then throw him out of the ring by his suspenders. And Cemetery Man would probably then just go off in the corner and cry about how dark the world is. Leaving Freddy Rodriguez's character to toss the other two out of the ring and win the battle royal.
So you got El Rey.
El Rey.
I'm going Captain Miller.
All right.
Lawrence Fishburne. I can't bet against him.
I
And
picked
I'm
El
gonna
Rey.
gonna lose a point.
Yep, I picked El Rey. Josh got 2, you got 1. We're going villains/killers. First up is Flaming Sam Neill. Second half Cemetery Man when he turns into a killer. Dr. Block, who was Brolin from Planet Terror. Jason Voorhees, Madman Mars, or the Ullman family from House of the Dead, the devil worshippers. They're like all one, like the
Oh
bushwhackers.
God.
They come into the ring all together.
I'm going with second half Cemetery Man because that's pretty brutal.
I'm just going to be avant-garde here and say Madman
Madman. Well,
because the Jason in Part 6 was terrible. And I just don't think any others have the gusto to fight off a axe murder.
I went Madman Mars, baby.
Ah,
AJ gets a point.
Wait, I said
Really?
Madman.
No,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, Josh gets a point. 3-1. Josh, there's 2 left. Second banana. We've got Cooper from Event Horizon, Nyagi from Cemetery Man, Megan, the girl from House of the Dead that gets shot in the head, TP from Madman, or the sheriff from Friday the 13th. You got Cooper, Event Horizon, Nyagi.
Nagi. It's Nagi. You picked Nagi. I want a point. Give me a point. It's Nagi.
I'm also going. Well, I'm also going to pick Nagi. I know it's definitely not TP because he can't even pull an axe out of a tree stump.
Yeah.
I did pick Nagi. You each get a point. Last one.
I think Nagi would show some Georgie Animal Steel strength.
Yeah.
He'd be like slapping his head and eating turnbuckles.
Next one, final one, is category dipshits. We got Justin Baby Bear from Event Horizon. We got the Franco, the inept detective from Cemetery Man. We got the block kid that shoots himself in the head from Planet Terror. We've got Lena Dunham from House of the Dead, and we've got Richie from Madman.
Oh man, this is a
Baby
tough
Bear.
choice. I'm gonna have to go with oh geez. What a terrible. This would be a scrub battle royal.
I'll say this.
This will be
Aaron,
round one.
since you're down 2 points, Aaron,
Mm-hmm.
it'll be worth 3 points.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm at the edge of my seat.
You pick
Let-
Josh?
I haven't picked yet because I don't like any of them.
I think that's the point.
Yeah.
They're dipshits.
Who was the one from Madman? Richie? No. I guess Baby Bear too.
I picked Richie
Oh, wow.
because he actually survived. He survived the Madman massacre.
That's
All right.
true.
So, Josh, you win 4-2
Yay.
in this battle royale of Eat the Buckle. The final, if all the winners were in a battle royale, it would be Cherry versus El Rey versus Madman Mars versus Nyagi versus Richie. Who would win? Who would be the ultimate winner? Cherry, El Rey, Madman Mars, Nyagi, or Richie?
Nagi.
This isn't worth any points. It's just a
I'm
I
going
think
Cherry.
Oh,
Nyagi or Cherry. I'm going Madman Mars. And that was Eat the Buckle. Let's talk about Madman for what I hope is the final nail in a coffin. But we'll
week
see.
5 was palpable dread, heart palpitations, and high blood pressure hitting play. I mean,
Uh,
There was no getting around it. Like a little bit of Stockholm syndrome is kicked in where I find myself sitting around going, it's not that bad at this point.
they just could have done this. It really would have been great. I was doing laundry and just like cleaning. I had a little soiree the night before, so I was cleaning up the basement, doing laundry. Like I wasn't totally tuned in, guys. Listen, if I'm gonna be honest, but I did watch it. I had it on. I took notes.
Uh,
I
I
made it
uh,
eat the buckle game while I watched it.
I watched last night. I sat down and sat through Jason Lives with a sour taste in my mouth. I thought that was the worst movie I've ever seen. And then I popped the newly received 4K of Madman into my Xbox and immediately watched
Oh,
Madman.
oh, and you still have so much vitriol for Jason after following up Madman.
Yesterday evening was probably one of the worst I've had in a while, fellas.
I'm to the point now where I make up stories for background characters. So like I have a note here in bold gold, so I make sure to ask this.
Mhm.
Your all's opinion. So there's Jimmy, who's the blonde kid,
Yeah.
that's a big fan of Spock. If you notice on his bunk, he's got a bunch of Star Trek stickers.
How did I not notice that?
What a level
Well,
of detail.
okay. Do you think Jimmy and the blonde chick that he's by ever hooked up during gifted camp? Because they seem like kind of close.
They're like
Like
probably
That
15.
giant hot tub's there for a reason.
it has
They're
to.
trying to spawn more gifted kids.
And I'm also finding myself being like, all right, who do I think Max looks like? And I've been watching a lot of This Old House, and I was like, he looks like Tom Silva from This Old House. If he just would have had a Boston accent instead of a Long Island accent or a Staten Island accent, they could be cousins or brothers easily.
That
I
one's right over my head.
I know of whom you speak. I always
For all my home improvement fans out there,
yeah,
DIYers.
oh,
I will say I'm not going to talk too much about Madman because we've seen it 5 times. Uh, but the beginning after the camp fire thing and Richie, once TP rounds up the boys and gets them to double time march back to the camp, and Richie kind of stays behind because he sees Madman up in the trees.
Yeah.
That's the slowest descent from a man out of a tree that I've ever seen in my life. Like it's almost like the madman doesn't know how to get down from that tree, and they make you watch every second of it.
oh they like taking their time making you watch people maneuver their way around things.
Well, I think about the Ellie kitchen scene. Like he has
Exactly.
a hard time
Exactly.
with his motor skills because he is an undead born from gifted minds, which also this week I do have an update to my theory about
Oh,
that.
okay. Jesus Christ.
So as you know, we're into week 5. It is now titled the Gifted Figment Theory. And if if he had already existed, why wouldn't TP have used Mars, like called him out when he's doing his folk song at the beginning? He would have said Mars, because again, the idea being that either he or Dave or somebody else has been a counselor with Max for more than just this fall, summer, whatever the time frame was, that they would have heard Max, because Betsy's been there.
They
She
all
even
have.
says, "Why do you always have to finish with the
Yeah.
ghost story like that?" Someone would have known about Mars before Max planted that.
Well, you would think if it, Long Island's not a huge area, and if you're camping right outside a house where a person murdered his family, that would just be known.
You'd think. You'd
And you would
think.
probably know everything about that. Like, oh, that's where Mars murdered his family. Like, yeah.
Wait, do you mean Mars or
Uh, I thought you were going to say this, Aaron. I've got an update to your
So you're signing on to my theory then.
no. I thought this was going to be an ongoing addition to the what does Betsy say when she's holding the knife in her hand? Because on the 4K that we all have now, I watched it with that and put the subtitles on that. Whereas last week with Shudder, it said knife,
Yes.
right? In the subtitles. And it sounds like she says something like le knife.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
on the 4K, on the subtitles, it just says mumbles. So we're back to not knowing what she says. There's
All right.
just
Now,
I'm gonna
again,
spit my beer out.
on full disclosure, I watched Madman before I got the 4K. So the 4K is still in plastic waiting to be just perused for hours of entertainment.
Let me tell you, it's a real good transfer.
it looks great. It really
You
does.
see every pore on these actors' unmakeup faces.
Oh boy.
It looks to me, it looked better than the Shudder that I watched the last 4 weeks. I thought.
Oh, it looked a ton
that's
better.
good. That's
Yeah.
good. Something
I
to
did-
look
I tried.
forward to.
I tried. I was like, you know what? For my fifth viewing of this, I'm gonna watch it with. There's a commentary of the director and Tony Fish, who plays TP, and I believe the gentleman who plays Madman, and like maybe one or two other guys. I
Oh,
tried.
you mean Paul Ellers, who
Yep.
apparently is all over about Madman. Like that's, I feel again, like not to sidetrack, but like you never want to punch down on these movies. Like someone did spend a lot of money, time, sweat, tears.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is it. Like this was me peaking in high school. It's Madman. That guy's entire life is this movie.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that's not a negative. That's just a commentary.
and you know what?
For you to figure out if you are happy for him or sad for him.
I would love to say the high point of my life was being on the production of Madman. That'd be pretty fucking awesome. But yeah, my goal was like, you know what? For fifth time I'm gonna watch this, I'm gonna sit down and listen to the commentary. Maybe I'll get some good nuggets. I made it through about 10 minutes. Like, you guys gotta do it. See, it's like an endurance test to listen to these Long Island guys just screaming over each other. It went from like funny to obnoxious to just like disorienting. Like, no,
I bet it's funnier than Jason Lives.
Oh,
good Lord. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say.
Well, if I can for a moment,
Take
as
it away.
we enter the fifth week of having watched this movie, I thought it was time that I kind of paid tribute to it, and also at the same time gave you guys a little gift. So if you'll allow me a moment,
Please.
okay. If you're gonna ask, why is this, why is that, it's up to you. Shit. And if you want to know just why the flowers grow, that's okay too.
Oh no, Madman's outside.
But if you're gonna ask me why I love you like I do, that's all I got.
Oh, I instantly started to feel myself spin around a hot tub, disoriented.
I thought I was gonna make it through that until I looked at the screen and saw you guys laughing, and I lost it.
If you're gonna, that was beautiful.
My
I
wife,
really wanted to somehow get that background track to like just start playing it as I was singing. That do 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 do
One not
do.
feel seduced after hearing that.
my wife is so upset because I will start singing that song around the house.
That song?
Yes, I sing that song at least once every 2 days in her presence, and it pisses her off to no end.
Yeah, our same thing in our house, but it's the floor of the campfire. Uh,
See,
okay,
I
but
just had to pay tribute to one of the lesser discussed songs in the movie, and it's playing during the best scene in the
Yeah,
movie.
the
I'm
classic.
hey man, that was amazing. Thank you for doing
You're
that.
welcome.
I can't wait to hear a recording of that so I can fall asleep to it every night. Uh, not picking a movie right now, but if you had to pick credit scene songs between the summer camp slam combatants, you going with Alice Cooper or are you going with
No,
Tony Fish?
I'm going with Tony Fish.
Ah,
Alice Cooper's songs on the Jason Lives soundtrack were terrible. I actually made a note of that.
The
all right.
credits.
The one is he's back.
Behind the mask. That
And then
song.
what's the Frankenstein? I already forgot.
We're gonna have
Teenage
teenage.
Frankenstein.
Yeah.
No, the credits is the man in the mask.
Yeah.
Man behind the mask,
Yeah, the man behind the
and he's
mask.
out of control.
It's the
Uh,
weakest Alice Cooper song I've ever heard.
yeah, it was no what was the movie with the werewolf?
The
Mm,
Howl.
Monster Dog.
Monster Dog. Yeah, it's no Monster Dog
Oh,
soundtrack.
yeah, I can't wait till we get to Monster Dog.
I
Oh,
don't
that's going into season 2 for sure.
the only place that Monster Dog is probably available is behind Josh's left shoulder on his rack of DVDs and Blu-rays. Because I think we watched that on VHS in college, did we not?
Woo!
Yeah, we did. Rented it from Video World.
Anyone can find it. We'll track down Video World Henry. We'll hire a private detective. We'll do whatever we got to do. We're gonna watch it.
I'm looking right now.
Madman has the better soundtrack.
It
Okay.
definitely does.
Yeah.
I reluctantly agree. I do think that Man Behind the Mask is a fucking banger.
It's so good I don't even remember it.
I think it's really weak.
And he's out of control. I think that was in part 5 as well. Which one?
Oh, really?
Well, I just watched them both this week, and again,
You
don't
watched
remember.
5?
I told you.
Was
I
5
watched-
the one where there's the couple, and they're serenading each other through a porta potty while one takes a shit?
Yep, it's the other kid from
Yeah.
it's the other kid from Return of the Living Dead.
Yes,
And then
yes.
and they rip off Swamp Thing with the little kid following the heroine around.
Reggie the Reckless. Was that
Yeah.
his name? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the Alice Cooper song was in that one originally, and then they brought it back. But that scene, we're not talking about part
Yeah.
5, but that scene where they're singing to each other while he takes a shit on the porta potty. It's just like, woo, those enchiladas. Dude, this franchise is fucking great.
I can get Monster Dog Blu-ray for $24.99 plus shipping from Grindhouse Video, and there's a buy two get one free sale going on.
Oh man.
Sounds like a scam. Don't do it. Vet it first. Anybody got any more notes?
I actually have viewer mail
Oh,
or
shit.
listener mail.
Oh, great. Yeah,
All right. So this is a quick question. It's a yes or no. We can hash it out later if we should have to watch this for a 6th week, but let's just
I think we got time. We have the listeners some
all
time.
right. So the question I received was, do you think Max set them up on purpose? It seems to me that he knows a lot about Madman Mars. He took them out to the house where, again, we had just discussed it earlier. They didn't know anything about the house even being there. And then he bounces until the very end of the movie after he's received the phone call from Betsy, waits, sits on his hands for a couple hours, and then runs into Richie when he's like, oh, yep, coast is clear. Do you think it's a setup to appease Madman Mars?
Oh, to appease him? No, but I do think Max was like, these shitty kids woke this murderous dead man up, and I'm getting the fuck out of here, and they can deal with it.
Yeah, you know, anonymous listener who wrote in.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was Katie.
Oh, Katie.
Yes.
I
It says here, sincerely, Katie.
Well, thank you for taking the time to write us, Katie.
Yeah, thank you. I've never watched it through that lens, but that makes a lot of sense. And in fact, that would be great for Jason Blum's sequel if Mad Max is or if Max is Madman Mars's like Renfield that has to go and like bring him.
What if the sequel's called Madman Max?
Oh,
What if, yeah, and I think we said this weeks ago, like, what if Max is the guy who bit off his nose in the bar fight and like they settled their shit, like, oh, here's a question. So, and we'll finish but this spawns from the question. Is Max a ghost? Is he dead? Is he just been hanging out in the woods as a human? Like,
a ghost running a gifted camp?
I'm sorry, is Madman Mars a ghost?
Yes,
Sorry.
he's completely
So he's a
supernatural.
Yeah, so Max is then in his charge, has to summon him and feed him these souls. I like this, Katie. Thank you for listening and thank you for that question. This should be Jason. We'll send Jason Blum another email. We'll pitch him the same cast, but
Yeah.
maybe with this new idea.
She might be getting an EP credit out of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll shoot for that. But
Oh
no,
boy.
I will watch maybe for the sixth time. I'll watch it with those eyes.
Oh boy.
It's
that time. It's that time. There's
no more
nothing,
questions from listener.
There's no. I only have one.
Oh, well, we'll have to get our mailbox out there for him. It's that time.
Yeah.
We'll go through, we'll say our final thoughts, give our summations. Let's start with me because I think everyone knows where I'm at, and then we'll go around. Again, I love Friday the 13th. I think part 6 is definitely top tier of the franchise. Madman, God bless you. You've entertained me somewhat off and on for the last 5 weeks, but you tried to be Friday the 13th and you couldn't. Sorry, buddy. You're losing again.
Josh?
This I want to preface this by saying that both of these movies are terrible. So I don't want this to come across as me saying in any way that Madman is a good movie. But I would rather watch it I'd rather not watch it ever again and have to sit through Jason Lives a second time.
Wow.
Because Madman's a better movie.
Okay. Wow.
Because Madman is a horror movie. As bad as it is a horror movie. And I feel like it's a horror movie that, like, as Aaron said earlier, someone put their heart and soul into this. And even if it didn't work and it was a complete catastrophe, they at least tried. And I don't see anything in Friday the 13th part 6 that says anybody tried to do anything other than to take a shit all over film.
Wow. Damn. All right.
As I was getting to earlier, because I'm not going to go back and edit it whatsoever. I might. I don't know. It depends on you, the listener, if this is out of place. But yeah, I am along Josh's lines where I feel like they knew what they were doing, to Jared's point, but to me, it was just a blatant cash grab. Like, here, you guys didn't like 5? Here, let's put this crap out. And to me, that just says it's a terrible movie, but it at least had some hallmarks of horror. It had some good kills. It was quality made in the sense that it looked good. Madman is still going to be our movie next week because it's just that rough.
And wow. Okay. Well, Madman, so normally you can edit this out. We're at the 2-minute mark if you don't want to do this, but normally we would pick a movie to watch next week, but we've discussed doing something a little special for the listeners out there. And our next week, I believe, will be a Hall of Fame shitlocker in maybe not next week, but next time we record, whenever that is, will be a Hall of Fame shitlocker induction ceremony, watch along commentary for the 6th viewing in a row of Man. Barring technical allowances and whatnot. If not, we'll just surprise everybody with a movie that we're watching to go up against it. Got anything?
All right. I think that's it.
All right.
It's really kidding in that now, not just talking about it, have to watch it again.
Oh, it's going to be so fun.
And talk about it, which we're not going to talk about anything going on the screen.
We're going to get into the nitty gritty.
I will be laser focused on everything going on the screen.
Oh God.
We should watch it with the commentary and then commentate on the movie with the commentary.
Great idea. All right, folks. Hope you had enjoyed this week and leave some room for next week because, as always, we're going to eat the buckle. Bye-bye.
Thanks, buckle bros and buckle babes.
Bye.
Woo!
Great fire, Bill.
Thanks. I love to feel the flames devour the wood. Who says there's no beauty in destruction?
I don't think there's beauty in any kind of destruction. For any reason.
I'd say that depends on the reason. For as long as our reason stays reasonable,